What if I told you that in one single meeting, Africa didn't just negotiate, Africa dominated? Not with noise or chaos, but with strategic intelligence, unity and leverage, so powerful that Europe had no choice but to shift its entire posture. The 2025 AU-EU summit in Luanda wasn't diplomacy, it was a continental power move, and Africa walked away with undeniable victories. Welcome to Project Rise Africa. Now, for decades, Africa-Europe meetings had a predictable rhythm. Europe set the agenda, Europe framed the issue, and Africa responded. The relationship was stuck in an outdated mode. But in Luanda 2025, that script burned. Africa walked into that room with clarity, confidence, and a continental voice that could never be ignored. Africa's leverage was real. Africa Continental Free Trade Area was strengthening. A new era of industrial ambition was unfolding. And across the world, every major power, China, India, the Gulf, the US, Turkey, was competing for Africa's partnership. This global competition gave Africa something priceless: strategic alternatives, and alternatives equal power. Europe, on the other hand, did not arrive in Rwanda in a position of dominance. It needed new energy sources. It needed African minerals for its green transition. It needed access to African markets and trade corridors. It needed geopolitical stability in a world being reshaped by conflict and uncertainty. Quietly but undeniably, Europe needed Africa more than Africa needed Europe. And Africa used this moment masterfully. The AU came united, coordinated and firm. No scattered positions, no divided priorities, just one continental front, insisting on partnership, sovereignty, and investment aligned with African goals. The old tools, conditional aid, political lectures, vague promises, simply bounced off. Africa was not asking, Africa was defining. Then came the defining moment of the summit. Europe publicly confirmed its commitment to the Global Gateway Africa. Europe Investment Package, a massive continent-shaping framework valued at 150 billion euro. This was not aid, not charity, not paternalistic support. This was investment directly tied to Africa's priority in infrastructure, industrialization, green energy, digital transformation, and trade. This is one of the biggest African wins of the decade. 150 billion euro shaped with African inputs, defended by African negotiators, aligned with African interests. And Africa did not stop there. Africa secured recognition of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area as the backbone of the future EU-Africa commerce. Europe agreed to support regional value chains, meaning Africa will no longer be pressured to export raw materials only to import finished goods at higher prices. This is a structural victory for African industrialization. Africa pushed Europe to move beyond its narrow migration agenda. The AU reframed the conversation. Migration is not a crisis to be policed. It is an economic issue solved by investment in Africa's young population. Europe agreed, marking another shift in narrative power. Africa strengthened its sovereignty stance. Governance conditionalities, once Europe's favorite pressure tool, were dwarfed by Africa's own mechanisms and priority. For the first time in a long time, Africa declared, "We manage our political processes. You engage us as equals." That message landed. Africa also won on the energy front. Countries like Angola, Mozambique, Senegal, Tanzania, and Nigeria leveraged their resources strategically in exchange for supporting Europe's immediate energy needs. Africa secured long-term commitments for renewable transition funding. Europe's short-term crisis became Africa's long-term opportunity. Most importantly, Africa won the psychological victory. The shift in mindset, narrative, and global perception. Analysts worldwide recognize that Africa did not attend the summit as beneficiary. Africa attended as a power. Rwanda proved that when Africa negotiates as a united bloc, its influence multiplied. It showed global players that Africa's partnership now requires respect, co-investment, and mutual benefit. It signaled to the world that the era of Africa as a passive actor is over. This is not the beginning of the rise. This is the manifestation of the rise. Africa walked into Luanda with leverage and walked out with billions, recognition, agency, and a rewritten rulebook. This is Project Rise Africa. If you understand what happened in Rwanda, you understand exactly where the world is heading. Africa is not waiting for the future. Africa is building it. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. And please turn on the notification button so you get notified whenever we drop our analysis. I'll see you again.